Now that the snowman is complete, let's continue building our scene. So what I could do is I want to kind of build a fence around the snowman. Okay, so to do that, I'm going to go to Create, Polygon Primitives, Cube. And now when I create the cube, it starts at the center of the scene. And I want this to be a picket fence. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look closely at this cube. And then under here where it says Inputs, I'm going to click on Polycube 1. And I can bring this down a little bit. And I could give this some subdivisions. And so if I type in 2, okay, I'm going to type in subdivision width, and I'm going to put that to 2. And what that did is it split this cube in half. And you'll see why in just a second, why I wanted that. But for now, I'm going to go back to my scale. And I'm going to scale this thin like this. And then I'm going to scale it up like this. And I want to make this like a fence post. Okay. So maybe like that. And I'm going to bring this out kind of to the grid here. Okay. And now, if I look closely at this, I want to pull this up so it's like a picket fence. To do that, I have to right click and I have to enter into what's called component mode. Okay. Now component mode consists of things like faces, edges, and vertices or vertex. So if I go to face, I can see that I can select a face. If I go to edge, I can select an edge. If I go to vertex, I can select these corner points. These are considered, a single one's called a vertex, or you can say vertices is plural for vertex. But I want to go to edge mode, and I want to grab this edge, and I can move it up. Okay. Now I can start to see how I'm altering a shape. I'm not moving the whole shape, I'm just moving a component of a shape. And once I'm done editing a component, then I have to right click on it and hold. Notice I'm hovering over the model. If I right click over here, I might not get the same menu, but I want to hover over the model, right click, and go to object mode. Now I'm back to my normal editing. Okay, so now that I have that, I can do this. Maybe I start this post at the corner here, and I want to duplicate this. And I want this to go all the way to the end of the grid. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do Shift D, as in duplicate. And because I did Shift D, watch this. I can move this over a little bit. And if I press Shift D again, it's going to remember how far I moved it. And I can just keep pressing Shift D. Okay, awesome. And now, once that's done, I want to kind of turn this so the fence goes the other way. Okay, so to do that, I'm going to now do Control D. And now that's just going to make one of them. But for this one, I wanted to rotate it. So I'm going to go to my rotate. And I'm going to move this 90 degrees. But I'm not sure which one, if it's X, Y, or Z. So what I usually do is grab this green one, because I know that that's roughly the angle that I want to turn it. And I can see that that starts moving rotate Y in my channel box. And if you don't see the channel box, make sure that you click on the icon up here, or click on channel box right there. And I'm going to type in 90 right here for 90 degrees. Okay, great. Maybe I look at that from the top to make sure that looks good. Yeah, that looks good. And now I've got a good starting point. And now I can do Shift D again. Move that a little bit, and now I can keep pressing Shift D. Okay, great. There we go. A great start to the fence. Okay. Now, maybe I want to grab this whole section of the fence. And instead of making that again from scratch, I could just drag select over the whole thing like this. And when I say drag select, I mean marquee drag like this. Click and drag, left click and drag. And now I can press Control D, and I can move that back here. There we go. And if I want to grab the other one, I'm going to just click on nothing and then start dragging like this. And if you notice that I accidentally clicked on some things I don't want. If that's the case, I could hold down Control and I could drag over it to deselect it. Then I could go look up here, Control drag to deselect that. Great. Now I've got this. I can do Control D to duplicate, and I can move this over, and I've got my complete fence. So really cool duplication methods. So we looked at duplication and the channel box, and I feel like our outliner is starting to get out of control a little bit. You can see that we've got a lot of pieces in there. And I'm going to go from the top one, that's P cube 1, come all the way down to the bottom to P cube, it looks like 78. Hold down Shift and select them all. Now, with all of them selected, I can do Control G as in group, and that's going to group them. I could double click on this, and I could call this fence. Okay, great. Now I've got that created, and in the next lesson, I'll continue this process.